Picture this: a pregnant wife basking in Miami's sun soaked luxury, only to stumble into a web of lies spun by her millionaire husband and his ruthless mistress. Welcome to Sophia Carter's wild ride, a tale of betrayal, danger, and a mother's unbreakable spirit. Buckle up because this story's twists will leave you reeling. Hit that like button and subscribe to catch every jaw dropping moment. The humid Miami breeze danced through the palm trees lining Ocean Drive, carrying the faint tang of salt and sunscreen into the Marshall estate. Sophia Carter, 32, stood on the villa's balcony, her bare feet cool against the coral stone tiles. 6 months pregnant, she pressed a hand to her swollen belly, her sundress fluttering as she gazed at the turquoise waves lapping South Beach below. Reggaeton pulsed faintly from a nearby club, a heartbeat to the city's vibrant chaos. The sunset blazed crimson and gold, a postcard lie hiding the storm brewing in her soul. To outsiders, Sophia's life was paradise, a sprawling beachfront villa with infinity pools and neon-lit views, married to Ethan Marshall, 38, Miami's real estate kingpin. His chiseled features and piercing blue eyes had once swept her off her feet, their romance a whirlwind of rooftop salsa nights and whispered promises under starlit skies. But lately, those promises had curdled into silence. Ethan's warm touch had turned fleeting, his gaze dodging hers like a thief avoiding a spotlight. Sophia wasn't blind. Before motherhood beckoned, she'd been a fearless investigative journalist, chasing leads through Miami's seedy back streets, Little Havana's cigar dens, Wynwood's graffitied alleys. That fire still smoldered beneath her skin, and tonight, it roared awake. It began with a spark, an unease that flared when Ethan slipped out for another late meeting. He'd brushed her cheek with a cold kiss, muttering about a new condo project. "Don't wait up, Soph," he'd said, his voice clipped, his fingers twitching at his cufflinks, a nervous tick she'd forgotten until now. She'd nodded, masking her doubt, but her eyes lingered on his retreating figure, silhouetted against the neon glow of Collins Avenue. The villa hushed after he left, the distant crash of waves blending with the hum of cicadas. Sophia wandered into the living room, her toes sinking into a rug woven with tropical hues: coral, teal, mango. The space screamed wealth, glass walls framing the Atlantic, a chandelier dripping crystals like frozen rain, and Cuban art Ethan had snagged at a Coconut Grove auction. Yet it felt empty, a stage abandoned mid-performance. Restless, she slumped onto the leather sectional, her hand grazing Ethan's laptop, left open, unguarded on the coffee table. Her pulse spiked. He was meticulous, always locking it behind a password she didn't know. Tonight, though, the screen glowed, unlocked, beckoning her like a siren's call. The journalist in her, the one who'd once exposed a drug lord's stash house off Biscayne Bay, overpowered the wife clinging to trust. With a shaky breath, she tapped the trackpad. The screen flared, revealing an unfamiliar inbox. Not his work email, but something personal. The top message's subject line hit like a gut punch. Project Eclipse. Urgent update. Her hazel eyes narrowed, locking on the sender. Vanessa Reyes. Sophia's stomach churned. Vanessa, Ethan's sharp-tongued assistant, was a 29-year-old vixen. Bronze skin, dark eyes that cut like obsidian, a smile too perfect to trust. Sophia had dismissed her unease as jealousy, but now it clawed at her, raw and insistent. She clicked the email, her breath catching as the words spilled out. "Ethan, we need to move fast. The investors are sniffing around, and I can't hold them off much longer. Project Eclipse is shaky if we don't lock the funds by Friday. Meet me tomorrow. Usual spot. V." Sophia's mind spun. Project Eclipse? Ethan hadn't breathed a word of it, and he shared every deal. Or so she'd believed. Usual spot stung like salt in a wound, hinting at secrets carved into Miami's underbelly. Her fingers hovered, torn between digging deeper and slamming the lid shut. Then another email snagged her gaze. Test results confirmed. Vanessa again. A chill slithered through her, colder than the ocean breeze. She opened it, the brief text searing her brain. "Ethan, it's positive. 5 months along. We need to talk. Soon. The room tilted. Sophia clutched the couch, her nails digging into leather as the truth crashed over her. 5 months. Vanessa was pregnant, with Ethan's child. Her chest tightened, a sob clawing free. She pressed a hand to her belly, feeling her own baby's faint kick. The child they'd fought for after years of tears and dashed hopes. Was he building another life in the shadows of Miami's neon nights? Tears blurred her vision, but fury burned brighter. She scrolled for more, but the inbox yielded only fragments, a puzzle missing half its pieces. Tires crunched on the driveway, snapping her from her trance. Ethan was back. She slammed the laptop shut, wiping her eyes as her heart thundered. The front door creaked, and his voice, smooth, oblivious, called, "Soph, you up?" She stood, legs shaky but resolve hardening like coral. "In here," she replied, her tone steady despite the tempest within. Ethan stepped in, his suit rumpled from the humid night, his dark hair tousled by the coastal wind. He flashed that dazzling smile, the one that once lit up her world. Now it felt like a mask stitched with lies. "Rough day?" she asked, her voice edged with a challenge she dared him to catch. He shrugged, loosening his tie. "Just business. You know Miami, always moving." His eyes flicked to the laptop, a shadow of unease crossing his face. "You okay? You look off." She forced a tight smile, her mind screaming with unasked questions. "Just tired. Pregnancy stuff." A half-truth, shielding the storm brewing inside. He nodded, seemingly relieved. "Rest up, babe. Early start tomorrow." As he climbed the stairs, Sophia sank back onto the couch, her fingers tracing the laptop's edge. Vanessa. Eclipse. A baby. This wasn't just an affair. It was a tidal wave poised to drown her. Tomorrow she'd dive into Miami's depths, its glitz, its grit, to unravel Ethan's lies. The journalist in her hungered for truth, and the mother in her vowed to protect what mattered most. The Miami sun scorched the sky the next day, its relentless heat shimmering off the pastel facades of South Beach as Sophia Carter stood in the Marshall Estates kitchen. Her chamomile tea sat cold in her grip, a bitter mirror to the fire raging within. She'd tossed and turned all night, haunted by Vanessa's emails. 5 months pregnant, Project Eclipse, a secret usual spot. The villa's oceanfront view, framed by swaying palms and the distant hum of jet skis, mocked her unraveling world. 6 months pregnant herself, Sophia should have been savoring coconut smoothies and planning a nursery, not grappling with the jagged truth that her millionaire husband was a fraud. Ethan had slipped out at dawn, his goodbye a hollow peck as he sped off in his Tesla toward downtown Miami's gleaming towers. "Big day ahead," he'd muttered, avoiding her hazel eyes now bloodshot from sleepless doubt. She'd nodded, her lips a tight line, but the journalist in her, the one who'd once tailed smugglers through Overtown's back alleys, refused to let it rest. Tonight was Marshall Properties' annual gala at the Fontainebleau, a ritzy spectacle of mojitos and millionaires. Ethan had urged her to skip it, citing her condition. She'd agreed then, but now she'd crash that party like a hurricane, hunting for the truth in Miami's glitzy underbelly. Dusk painted the city in purples and pinks as Sophia stood before her bedroom mirror, her reflection a warrior cloaked in emerald silk. The gown hugged her baby bump, its deep green hue sparking against her auburn waves, a crown of defiance atop her weary frame. She wasn't just Ethan's wife anymore. She was a bloodhound, sniffing out lies amid the scent of Cuban cigars and ocean salt. The Fontainebleau buzzed with Miami's elite, bronze tycoons in linen suits, women flashing gold chains, and Spanglish quips, the air thick with rum and rhythm. Sophia slipped through the grand ballroom's arched doors, her presence drowned by the clatter of heels on marble and the sultry wail of a salsa band. She spotted Ethan near the bar, his broad shoulders cutting through the crowd as he toasted with investors, his laugh ringing over the clink of glasses. That charm, once her weakness, now twisted her gut like a lime in a caipirinha. Then she saw her. Vanessa Reyes prowled the room, her black dress clinging to a subtle curve that screamed the truth. 5 months along. Her dark hair gleamed under the chandeliers, her eyes locking onto Ethan with a predator's glint. Sophia's breath caught, her hands balling into fists as Vanessa glided toward him, her smirk sharp enough to slice through the humid air. Ethan leaned in, whispering something that widened her smile. A private dance in a room full of strangers. The ballroom spun. Sophia steadied herself against a column draped in tropical vines, her chest heaving with ragged gasps. She wanted to charge over, to shatter their smug bubble with a scream. But she needed more. Evidence, not just heartbreak. Slipping behind a potted palm, she edged closer, her ears straining past the band's brassy crescendo to catch their hushed words. "Eclipse is tight," Vanessa purred, her voice a velvet blade. "But the funds need to move tonight, or we're toast." Ethan nodded, his jaw clenched. "I'll make the call. Keep them busy. Flash that smile." Sophia's blood froze, colder than a Key West breeze. Funds? Eclipse? This wasn't just a fling. It was a heist, a scheme stitched into Miami's neon nights. Her mind raced back to the email. Vanessa's urgency, now a glaring red flag. Project Eclipse wasn't some condo flip. It stank of dirty money, and Ethan was neck-deep in the swamp. She stumbled toward the balcony, shoving through glass doors to gulp the sticky night air. The Atlantic stretched dark and endless, its waves crashing against the shore like her crumbling resolve. She pressed a hand to her belly, her baby's kick a faint lifeline as her phone buzzed. Ethan texting, "Where are you? Thought you were home." The gall of it scorched her. She fired back. "Felt better? Getting air?" Her fingers trembling with fury. Back inside, the gala pulsed on, oblivious to her imploding life. Sophia lingered near a wall strung with fairy lights, tracking Ethan as he peeled away from Vanessa and slipped into a dimly lit corridor, phone in hand. She followed, her heart pounding like congas at a Kali Ocho festival, every step a plunge into the unknown. Hiding behind a velvet curtain, she watched him pace, his voice a tense whisper into the phone. "It's me. Move the 5 million now. Offshore, like we set up. Vanessa's got the docs. No screw-ups, comprende? 5 million. Offshore." The words slammed into her like a rogue wave, dragging her under. This wasn't just cheating. This was a full-on grift, a betrayal that sprawled beyond their bed, into Miami's criminal veins. Her knees wobbled, but she gripped the curtain, forcing herself to stay silent. Ethan wasn't just a philanderer. He was a crook, and Vanessa was his co-conspirator. Her pregnancy a twisted leverage. The call ended with a snap. Ethan raked a hand through his hair, exhaling shakily before heading back to the ballroom. He didn't spot her, didn't feel the storm brewing in her shadow. Sophia stayed rooted, her breath hitching as tears welled, not from sorrow, but from a molten rage. She couldn't confront him here, not with Miami's glitterati watching. But she wouldn't let this fester either. The journalist in her roared, ravenous for proof, and the mother in her swore to shield her child from this mess. Wiping her eyes, she squared her shoulders, her gown shimmering like armor forged in fury. Tomorrow, she'd storm Ethan's office, dig through his files, and expose this rot. Project Eclipse, Vanessa, all of it. Whatever he'd tangled them in, it wouldn't just break her heart. It could sink her life. And she'd claw her way out, Miami style, fierce, fearless, and unrelenting. The Miami night thrummed with restless energy as Sophia Carter tore away from the Fontainebleau, her SUV slicing through the neon-lit chaos of Ocean Drive. The gala's glitz dissolved in her rearview mirror, replaced by the brutal weight of Ethan's betrayal. $5 million vanishing into offshore shadows. Vanessa's smug whispers weaving a noose around her life. Her emerald gown bunched against the seat, her hands trembling on the wheel as salsa beats from passing convertibles clashed with her racing pulse. 6 months pregnant, she should have been sipping guava juice by the pool, not diving into a cesspool of lies. Sleep eluded her when she reached the Marshall estate, the villa's infinity pool reflecting a moon that mocked her sleepless dread. Ethan stumbled in past midnight, his bourbon stench cloaking flimsy excuses about networking. Sophia feigned exhaustion, retreating upstairs while her mind churned with a razor-sharp plan. She wasn't just a betrayed wife. She was a journalist reborn, forged in Miami's gritty crucible, ready to rip open the guts of Project Eclipse. Ethan's downtown office held the key, and she'd storm it like a hurricane hitting Key Biscayne. Morning broke with a muggy haze, the city's palms drooping under the weight of humidity. Ethan left early, his Tesla humming toward Brickell Avenue with a muttered deal to close. Sophia seized her chance. She swapped her gown for a loose blouse, her auburn hair yanked into a tight ponytail, a warrior's braid for Miami's urban jungle. The drive to Marshall Properties felt like a gauntlet, her heart pounding past pastel Art Deco facades and the rumble of mopeds weaving through traffic. The lobby buzzed with the clack of heels and the tang of Cuban coffee. Tara, the receptionist, flashed a grin. "Mrs. Marshall, Ethan's out. Need something?" Sophia's smile was a practiced mask. "Just picking up a file he forgot. Quick stop." Tara waved her through, clueless, as Sophia rode the elevator to the 30th floor, her palms slick with sweat and resolve. Ethan's office was a throne room of power. Glass walls framing Miami's skyline, a mahogany desk littered with awards, the air thick with his cologne and the faint brine of the bay. She locked the door, her breath shallow as she scanned the space. If Project Eclipse was a money-laundering beast, its bones were here, buried in files or encrypted in code. She rifled the drawers first, her fingers shaking through contracts and permits, nothing but legit deals masking the rot beneath. The computer beckoned, its hum a siren's call. She booted it up, the password screen glaring back. Birthdays failed, anniversaries flopped. Then, Eclipse. It clicked open, and her heart lurched. Files spilled across the screen. ECL 001, ECL 002. Spreadsheets of dates, millions funneled through shell companies, Cayman accounts glowing like dirty gold. Emails between Ethan and Vanessa detailed investor cuts and clean drops. One line from Vanessa burned into her. "Burn the trail or we're dead." Sophia's blood ran cold, her forehead beating with sweat. This wasn't just an affair. It was a criminal empire, and her husband was its puppet king. She snapped photos with her phone, her hands quaking as the screen's glare lit her fury. She needed this to Lydia, her lawyer friend, before it swallowed her family whole. A sharp rap on the door jolted her, her pulse exploding. "Ethan!" Vanessa's voice slithered through, smooth and lethal. Sophia froze, the knob rattling as Vanessa's heels clicked closer. "Open up! We've got trouble!" The lock twisted with a spare key, and Vanessa swept in, her dark eyes narrowing as they landed on Sophia. Silence crackled like a storm over the Everglades. Vanessa's blazer hugged her 5-month bump, her smirk faltering as recognition hit. "Sophia!" she purred, venom lacing the word. "Snooping in Daddy's sandbox?" Sophia stood tall, her voice a growl. "I know everything. Eclipse, the money, your baby. I've got proof." Vanessa's eyes flashed, but she stepped closer, her heels snapping on the marble. "Proof? You're a liability now, sweetheart. Walk away or you'll wish you had." Before Sophia could retort, the door banged open again. A hulking figure loomed, a man in a cheap suit, his scarred face a map of violence, his accent thick with Hialeah grit. "Reyes, we got a problem. The boss says the transfer's flagged. Someone's talking." His gaze flicked to Sophia, narrowing. "Who's this?" Vanessa's smirk returned, icy and cruel. "Ethan's wife. She's digging where she shouldn't." The man, Raoul, she'd later learn, cracked his knuckles, stepping toward her. "Loose ends get cut, lady. Hand over the phone." "So." Terror surged, but Sophia clutched her device, backing toward the desk. "Touch me, and I scream this place down." Her voice trembled, but her eyes blazed. Pure Miami fire. Raoul lunged, his meaty hand snagging her wrist. She twisted, slamming her elbow into his gut, a move honed from years chasing stories in dicey neighborhoods. He grunted, loosening his grip, and she bolted for the door, only for Vanessa to block her, snatching the phone with viper-like speed. "Not so fast!" Vanessa hissed, smashing it against the desk's edge. Glass sprayed like shrapnel, her proof gone. Sophia's knees buckled, but she caught herself, fury drowning fear. "You won't stop me. I'll find more." Vanessa laughed, cold as a Miami winter. "Try it. Raoul's friends don't mess around." She nodded to the thug, who cracked his neck menacingly. "Get out while you can, Sophia. Next time, he won't be so gentle." Raoul smirked, stepping aside as Vanessa sauntered out. Sophia stumbled after them, her breath ragged, her blouse clinging with sweat. The elevator ride down was a blur, her mind a tornado of rage and dread. Her evidence was dust, but the fight wasn't over. Vanessa and this boss had drawn blood. And now, a real threat loomed. Not just in shadows, but in flesh and bone. She collapsed into her SUV, clutching her belly as sobs tore free. Not from defeat, but from a mother's primal vow. Miami streets might chew her up, but she'd claw her way through this abyss. For her child, for justice, for the woman she'd become. The Miami twilight shimmered with a deceptive calm as Sophia Carter sped back to the Marshall estate, the wreckage of her shattered phone glinting on the passenger seat, a cruel trophy of Vanessa's victory. Her SUV roared past neon-lit bars and pastel motels on Collins Avenue, the humid air thick with salt and the faint pulse of meringue from open windows. 6 months pregnant, her hands shook on the wheel. Vanessa's threat. Next time, he won't be so gentle. And Raoul's scarred sneer searing her mind. She'd escaped Ethan's office with her life, but the war was far from over. The villa loomed ahead, its white stucco walls glowing under a mango-hued sunset, palm fronds rustling like whispered warnings. Sophia stumbled inside, her blouse soaked with sweat, her auburn hair a wild tangle. The infinity pool's ripples caught the dying light, a serene lie against the chaos clawing her chest. She sank onto the living room couch, her hand cradling her belly as her baby kicked, a fragile heartbeat in a world crumbling to dust. Tears stung, but she swallowed them. She needed to face Ethan, to wrench the truth from his lips before Vanessa's next move. Hours dragged, the clock ticking past midnight over the hum of cicadas and distant boat horns from Biscayne Bay. Headlights slashed the darkness, the garage door groaning open. Ethan was home. Sophia rose, her pulse a frantic conga beat as she wiped her face and steeled herself. No more tears, not until he saw the fire she'd unleash. His footsteps echoed on the coral tiles, heavy with exhaustion or guilt. "Soph?" Ethan's voice carried its old warmth, now cracked with unease. He stepped into the room, his suit rumpled from Miami's sticky night, his blue eyes shadowed. "You're up late. You okay?" She faced him, her gaze a blade honed in fury. "No, Ethan, nothing's okay." Her words trembled with rage, sharp as a switchblade. "I know about Vanessa, the baby, Project Eclipse, $5 million vanishing offshore. I've seen it all." His face drained white, a ghost unmasked. He staggered, mouth gaping as if grasping for a lie, then slumped into an armchair, hands raking his dark hair. "How?" he rasped, barely a whisper. "I broke into your office," she spat, stepping closer, her eyes blazing like a Miami storm. "Found the files, the emails, heard you at the gala. Vanessa smashed my proof, and some thug, Raoul, nearly broke my arm. Don't you dare lie anymore." Ethan's head snapped up, horror flashing across his features. "Raoul? He was there? Soph, His voice broke, and he buried his face in his hands. "I never meant for this." "Meant for what?" she roared, her voice echoing off the glass walls. Cheating? Stealing? Putting us in danger while I carry your child?" "It's bigger than that," he choked, lifting his tear-streaked face. "Yes, I slept with Vanessa. Once, 5 months ago, after a deal tanked in Little Havana. I was drunk, stupid. She said she was pregnant, and I panicked. But the money, it started before her. Investors, dangerous ones, pushed me into eclipse. They're tied to cartels, Soph. Vanessa found out and forced me deeper, threatening to spill it all. Sophia's laugh was jagged, bitter as guava gone sour. So she's blackmailing you, and you just rolled over? You're pathetic. I had no choice, he shouted, surging to his feet, desperation wild in his eyes. I wanted to shield you, the baby. If I backed out, they'd come for us. I thought I could pay them off, keep her quiet, but it's a mess. I'm drowning. She recoiled as he reached for her skin prickling with disgust. Shield me. Vanessa threatened my life today, Ethan. Raoul's their muscle, and he's real. Who are these people? His shoulders sagged, voice a broken murmur. Cartel fronts, cleaning cash through my deals. I didn't know how deep it went until I was trapped. He sank back, tears falling. I'm sorry. I love you, Soph. I'll fix this. Go to the cops. Anything. Before she could reply, the front door rattled, a sharp knock slicing the silence. Sophia froze, her pulse spiking. Ethan's eyes widened, dread pooling in them. Stay here, he whispered, but she followed, her instincts screaming. Through the peephole, Vanessa's silhouette loomed, her dark hair glinting under the porch light. Sophia flung the door open, fury overriding fear. What do you want? Vanessa smirked, her blazer taut over her bump. Loose ends, darling. She stepped inside, uninvited, her heels clicking like gunfire. Raoul's antsy. Says you're a problem. I'm here to clean up. Ethan lunged forward. Leave her out of this. But Vanessa sidestepped, pulling a sleek pistol from her bag, a glinting threat in the dim light. Sophia's breath caught, her hand flying to her belly as Vanessa aimed it at Ethan. Shut up, Vanessa hissed. You're done calling shots. Sophia, walk away, or this gets messy. Right here, right now. Sophia's knees shook, but she squared her shoulders, voice steady. Shoot him, and you're finished too. I've got people watching, cops on speed dial. A bluff, but her eyes burned with conviction. Vanessa hesitated, the gun wavering. Then she laughed, lowering it. Cute. But Raoul's coming, and he doesn't bluff. She turned for the door, tossing a final barb. Sleep tight, Sophia. Miami's not done with you. The door slammed, leaving a deafening hush. Ethan crumpled, sobbing. I'm so sorry. I'll end this. Sophia stared at him, her heart a battlefield, love warring with loathing. You don't get to decide, she said, voice cold as steel. I need time. For me. For our baby. But this ends my way. She climbed the stairs, locking the bedroom door, and sank onto the bed, trembling as the night deepened. Vanessa's gun, Raoul's threat, Ethan's tears. It was a noose tightening around her. But she wouldn't snap. Tomorrow, she'd fight. For her child, for justice, for the life she'd reclaim from this Miami nightmare. The Miami sunrise spilled golden light across the Marshall estate, filtering through the bedroom's shutters where Sophia Carter lay, her hand resting on her 6-month bump. Her hazel eyes, raw from a sleepless night, traced the ceiling as her baby kicked, a fierce reminder of why she'd endured. Ethan's confession, infidelity, fraud, cartel ties, still rang in her ears. Vanessa's gun glinting in her memory like a nightmare etched in neon. The villa's ocean breeze carried the faint cry of gulls over South Beach, but peace was a stranger here. Sophia rose, her resolve a blazing torch in the ashes of her marriage. Downstairs, Ethan slumped on the couch, a hollow shell in his wrinkled suit, his face carved with guilt. He looked up as she descended, hope flickering in his tear-streaked eyes. Soph, did you decide? His voice trembled, a plea wrapped in despair. She stood over him, her auburn hair catching the morning glow like a crown of fire. Yes, she said, her tone steady as coral rock. You've ruined us, Ethan. Cheated, lied, brought guns to our door. I won't forgive that, but I won't let Vanessa or your investors touch my child. You're going to the cops. Today. His shoulders sagged, but he nodded. I'll do it. I'll tell them everything. Not alone, she cut in, her gaze unyielding. I've called Lydia Grant, my old lawyer friend from the Herald days. She's coming. This ends on my terms. Ethan's eyes widened, a flicker of relief breaking through. Thank you, Soph. Don't, she snapped. This isn't for you. The day unfurled like a Miami thunderstorm, swift, chaotic, inevitable. Lydia arrived by noon, her sharp suit cutting through the villa's haze, her briefcase a weapon against the mess Ethan had sown. Time's tight, she warned, her voice crisp as she eyed him. Cartel fronts don't wait. Spill it. All of it. Ethan scribbled his confession at the dining table. Project Eclipse, the 5 million, Vanessa's blackmail, Raoul's threats. His hand shaking under Lydia's steely watch. Sophia paced, her mind racing. Vanessa was still out there, a venomous shadow with a gun and a grudge. She's not clean, Sophia told Lydia, her voice low. She's skimming, pushing Ethan deeper. We need her down, too. Lydia nodded, tapping her pen. We'll get her, but we need more than his word. Those smashed photos won't cut it. Before Sophia could reply, the doorbell chimed, a sharp jolt in the tense air. Through the window, she glimpsed a flash of dark hair. Vanessa. Her pulse spiked, but she strode to the door, flinging it open. Back for more, she hissed. Vanessa smirked, her blazer swapped for a sleek tank top, her bump stark against the fabric. Just checking my investment. Her eyes flicked to Ethan, then back. Raoul's impatient. Says you're stalling. Sophia stepped closer, voice a growl. Tell Raoul I've got lawyers and cops on speed dial. You're done. Vanessa's smirk faltered, but she shrugged. We'll see. She turned, sauntering toward a black sedan, idling by the curb. Raoul's scarred face glowering from the driver's seat. The car peeled away, tires screeching on the sun-baked asphalt. By dusk, Ethan stood before Miami PD detectives, Lydia at his side. Sophia watched, her heart a knot of grief and grit as he handed over his confession. I'm cooperating, he said, voice steady despite the cuffs clicking around his wrists. I just want my family safe. Lydia had negotiated, a plea for years, not decades, but justice still stung. Back home, Sophia retreated to the nursery, its walls soft with pastel murals of mangroves and flamingos, a haven she'd dreamed of. She sank into the rocking chair, a tiny onesie in her hands, and pressed it to her chest. Hey, little fighter, she whispered to her belly, her voice cracking. I'm naming you Elena, after my abuela. She survived storms worse than this. We'll make it too. New home, new start, just us. Tears fell, but they were warm, a promise sealed with a kick from within. Days later, Lydia called, her tone electric. Big break. Feds raided a warehouse in Alapata. Vanessa's name's on Shell Company docks, and they caught her trying to bolt at MIA with a suitcase of cash. She's done. Raoul, too, nabbed in a Hialeah sting. Ethan's confession tipped them off. Sophia exhaled, a weight lifting. And the cartel? Shaken, not stirred. Lydia quipped. They'll scatter for now. You're clear. Then came the twist. Lydia's voice softened. One more thing. Ethan mailed a USB to the feds before turning himself in. Bank records, emails, he'd been collecting it, Soph. Said it was his last shot to protect you. Sophia's breath caught, a pang of shock piercing her relief. Redemption? Too late. She hung up, staring at the ocean's endless sprawl. Ethan's gesture didn't erase the scars. He'd still betrayed her, but it dulled the edge of her hate. Weeks later, the villa sold, its ghosts buried with the closing papers. Sophia packed her SUV, Elena's crib, her sundresses, a life unmoored. She'd head to Tampa, where the Gulf's calm promised a fresh dawn. Ethan's jail letter sat unopened on the counter. She'd burned enough for him. On her final night, she stood on the balcony, the Atlantic breeze weaving through her hair, the distant thump of reggaeton, a farewell from Miami's wild heart. Elena kicked, strong and sure, and Sophia smiled. Fierce, unbroken. We're free, mi pequeña. she murmured, the wind carrying her vow. She wasn't the woman who'd arrived here, soft, trusting, but a survivor, forged in betrayal's fire. Wow, what a ride! Thank you, incredible viewers, for sticking with Sophia's epic fight. Would you forgive Ethan after that twist? Drop your thoughts below. I read everyone. If this saga gripped you, smash that like button and subscribe for more heart-pounding stories. You're the heartbeat of this channel. See you next time.